row 12. This is where things get a little bit different. This is going to be the last of our increase rows, and it's going to start in the beginning of a new diamond, and you'll see what I mean. So for right now, we're going to turn the work, single crochet and chain 1 into that first stitch, double crochet into the same stitch, 2 more double crochets, because we need our total of 4 still, like so, chain 1, double crochet into the chain space because we need to skip that double still, there we are. So that is our first, and we need 7 more for a total of 8. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Yep, okay. Then, after doing 8 double crochets, including the one in that chain space, okay, chain 1, skip a double crochet, and into the next stitch, you guessed it, another double crochet. All right, and so from here to the chain, that should be another 8. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 goes into the chain, like so. Chain 1, skip a double crochet going into the next with the double, and the next, and then 2 in the last, so that we have our 4 on this side. Ta-da! All right, and that's the end of row 12. All right, row 13. Now, I want you to keep in mind, before we go on, that row 12 is the sort of the definitive row as far as whether you keep going or whether you stop. Okay, so keep that in mind, because it's the beginning of the repeat, essentially, row 12, or the beginning of the end. Depends on how you look at it. And you'll see what I mean. All right, so for row 13, now we're going to decrease. So for the decreasing, now I'm sure there are other ways of doing this, but this is how I'm doing it. So take it for what you will. So we're going to start by chaining up 3, 1, 2, and 3. Turn the work. And double crochet, not into this first one, but into the second one, okay? And double crochet. Now, yes, there is a gap here. However, because it's leaning to the side, it is not so distinct. So that is a total of 1 stitch. This is your 2 double crochets together. All right, so that's 1 and 2 and 3, and the 4th is going to go into that chain space. It's always a total of 4. Now, yes, it looks like 5, but again, on the next row, you'll see what I mean a little bit clearer, okay? Trust me. Do you trust me? I hope you do. All right, so now we need an eyelet going inward, right? Okay. So to do that, chain 1, skipping this first double, going into the next with a double. All right. Okay, and into the next bunch. So that's a total of 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6. Okay, so we went from 8 to 6. Right, then chain 1, skip that next double, going into the chain space with a double crochet, chain 1 again, skip the next double, going to the next with a double. So now we've got 2 holes, okay? And double crochet into the next bunch and stopping just before you reach that last one right there. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Chain 1, skip that double crochet going into the chain with a double. So that's 1, 2, 3, and the last one is going to be doing a double crochet 2 together between this one right here and the turning chain. Now, yes, I know it's a little bit tricky, but you can do it. So you're starting a double, but not finishing it, and then another one into the very, very end here. That's why I'm saying the count is important. Otherwise, it's going to look wonky. All right, and then pull through all 3 loops, like so. And that is the end of row 13. Okay, row 14. Again, start by chaining up 3. 1, 2, and 3. Turn the work. Skipping this first double crochet together right there, going into the next, like so. So that's 1, 2, 3, and the 4th goes into the chain. Okay, chain 1, skip the first double, going into the next. So that is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so now we need to deal with these eyelets. So chain 1, skip the double crochet going into the chain with a double, double crochet into the double, and 1 into the next chain. So now I've got a total of 3 again. Look familiar? All right, so then chain 1, skip the next double going into the next for 1, 2, 3, and 4. Chain 1, skip a double, double crochet into the chain space or the chain. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then double crocheting these next 2 together. And then pull through all 3, shaboom. Just lay it out for you a little bit so you can see better. All right. And that is the end of row 14. Okay, row 15. Starting just as we have been, chain up 3, 1, oops, hello, 1, 2, 3, turn the work, double crochet into the second stitch. I suppose you could also do a, chaining up of 2, really whatever method works for you. I'm just showing you how I did it myself. So that counts as 1 double crochet, and 2, and 3, and the 4th goes into the chain, just as long as the numbers work. Now, of course, you can also make this piece a lot wider if you want to. However, as far as figuring out the numbers, I'm sure it'll take some tweaking and some time, but the results are worth it. So after we have our 4, chain 1, skip the first double, going into the next, and the next for a total of 2 double crochets. Okay. Chain 1, double crochet into the chain. We have to skip that double crochet. So going into the chain with a double, 1 into each of the next 3, and then last but not least, a double into the chain on this side. So just as when we started, we went from 1 to 3 to 5. Same deal as down below. Same deal. All right, then chain 1, skip the first double, going into the next with a double, and then another for a total of 2. Chain 1, skip a double, going into the chain with a double. So that's 1 and 2 and 3, and then we need another excusez-moi, we need another decrease. So going into the next and the next, and pull through all 3, like so. That's the end of round 15. Almost looks like a happy little heart. Row 16. Okay, so for row 16, same deal as before. We chain up 3, 1, 2, 3. Turn the work. Double crochet into the second stitch. So that's a total of 1, 2, 3, and the 4th goes into the chain. All right, so now we have to cross over 2 double crochets. So what I did was, instead of chaining 1, I chained 2, and I think that it worked out just fine. Because again, it's all about the numbers. So chaining 1 and 2, being sure not to make those chains too tightly. Then double crochet into the next chain space. Okay. And then double crochet into each of the doubles until we reach the other side. Okay, finishing up by doing a double crochet into this chain space. Okay, and we've got a bridge over these two double crochets. So chaining of 2, double crochet into the next chain space, like so. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then we need another decrease for our 4th. So that's part of 1, part of another, and pull through all 3. Shaboom. And that's the end of row 16. Alrighty. Okay, row 17. See, we're at another critical juncture because we only have 2 spaces right here. So now we need to increase once again at the beginning and end of every row. So that being said, we're going to turn the work and go back to doing a single crochet and chain 1 in the first stitch, double crochet into the same stitch, and then, so that counts as 2 doubles. So double crochet into the next and the next. Okay, so we've got our 4 again. So chain 1, skipping this first double crochet right there, and we need to do 2 double crochets into the 2 chains. So yes, it can be a little bit tricky, but if you're patient and if you made your chains loose enough, it shouldn't be that bad. So that's our 1. We need 1 more. All right, and then we have our 2 doubles. Chain 1, skip that first one, going into the next. Okay, and then across until we reach the second to the last one. So really, at this point, I mean, if you remember where you need to do your increases and decreases and you know, your eyelets, you know, I mean, you can just look at your work and see where you're going after a while, and you're like, oh, that's where I am. So right, we have our 5 double crochets here. We chain 1, and now we need to skip that double and do 2 doubles into these 2 chains. So that's 1 and 2. Okay. Chain 1, skip the first double, going into the next. So that's 1, 2, and into this next double, 2 double crochets. So that's 3 and 4. Okay. That's the end of row 17. Row 18. So we need increases again. So we turn the work and into the first stitch, a single and a chain 1, double crochet into the same stitch. So that's 2 and 3 and 4. Chain 1. Okay, so this diamond we need to have grow outward, right? So to do that, we're going to skip that first double crochet going into the chain space, like so. Double crochet into each of these 2. And double crochet into the next chain. And I'm going to have to fiddle with this one. There we go. So we've got from 2 to 4. Chain 1, skip a double, going into the next. And the next. And the next. Like so. Chain 1, skip the next double, going into the chain with a double. And the next 2. And another double into the chain space so that we have this diamond growing out as well. Chain 1, skip the next double, going into the next stitch. So that's 1 and 2, and then into the last stitch, 2 doubles. So that is 3 and 4, like so, and that's the end of row 18, so you can see how it's growing outwards again. Loving it. Okay. Okay, row 19. So again, we need to increase at the beginning, so when we turn our work, going to do a single crochet and chain 1 in the first stitch, double crochet into that same stitch, and then so that's 2, and then 3 and 4. Chain 1, and we need to make this diamond bigger still, so skipping that first double crochet, going into the chain space with a double. So that's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5, and the 6th one goes into the chain on this side. So we went from 2 to 4 to 6. Okay, chain 1, skip the first double there, going into the next. Oops. Okay, and chain 1 again. Skip that next double, going into the next chain space. And then into each of these doubles. So that's 2, 3, 4, 5, and last one goes into the chain space for a total of 6. There you go. Chain 1, skip the first double, going into the next. So that's 1 and 2, and 2 double crochets go into this last one right here. So that's 3 and 4. Bada bing, bada boom. Alrighty. So that's the end of row 19. Alright, row 20. Okay, One last time, we're going to turn the work and into that first stitch a single crochet, chain 1, double crochet into that same stitch, so that's 2 and 3 and 4. Chain 1, skip that first single crochet right there, going into the chain space with a double, and then 1 into each of these. So that's a total of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 goes into the chain space, like so. Chain 1, skip that double crochet going into the next chain space, like so, and then 1 into each, including the chain space on this side. So that's a total of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 goes into that chain. Gonna need to fiddle with this one just a moment. No big deal, there we go. All right, chain 1, skip that first double going into the next, and another one in the next, and then 2 in the last one. So that we have our total of 4 once again. All right, so that's the end of row 20. Now, something to keep in mind, that row 20 is just like row 12, if I'm not mistaken. Let's see, that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Yes, so 12 and 20 are the same thing. And I'll show you what I mean, because we have a total of, as far as eyelets go, we have 1, 2, and 3 on row 12. And then on row 20, oh, lo and behold, 1 and 2 and 3. So again, this repeat from rows 12 through 20 is the repeat. So basically, you would, when you reach 12, you would go all the way up to 20, and then you would do the repeat. So that would be rows 13, if you're starting at this one, so rows 13, which is the one with the little 2 right there, 13 through 20 would be the repeat if you want to make more and more diamonds. You can make this as long as you want to. Now, when I said when we reached row 12, this is the point where you're like, oh, do I want to keep going or do I want to stop here? Well, that is your call. That is your option. But right now, since I've showed you the full repeat on how to make more and more diamonds, okay, I'm going to show you how to now decrease your piece, which is basically the exact opposite of the initial increase. But you know me, I like to be thorough. As far as this, I am going to put timestamps, of course, in the description box down below so that you can do this repeat, which would be, you could start at, row 12, or you could start at row 13, as long as you have the 3 dots total, 1, 2, and 3, the eyelets, and end up with 3 eyelets. However you get there, hey, more power to you. Okay, so I'm going to put the timestamps in the description box, and now I'm going to show you how to go about doing the decreasing. Okay. Alrighty, row 21 and onwards to the decreasing. This way we can finish up this scarf into a nice pretty point. So again, with the decreasing, we are going to start with a chaining up of 3. Turn that work. Skipping this first stitch, going into the next one with a double. Double into the next. Remember, that counts as 2. That counts as 1. That counts as 2. 3. And the fourth one goes into the chain. And this one's a little bit tight. I can see that, so there we go. All right, chain 1. Skip the first, going into the next. And all the way across. Do 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 do. All right, and when you reach the, oops, hello. When you reach the chain 1, quite simply, do a double crochet into that chain 1. Okay, fill that in, and then continue on to this side. Alrighty. Okay. And, oops, went one too far. There we go. All right, because we need to make the eyelets go inward. So that being said, don't do that last one there. Chain 1, double crochet, skipping that one, going into the next, chain space with a double. So that is 1, 2, 3, and then decrease these last 2 together. So that's bring up 1 and bring up the next. Cam it. There we go. Bring up the next, and then pull through all 3 loops, like so. So now we're going inwards. All right, so that's the end of row 21. Row 22, same deal. Chain up 3. Skip the first one, going into the next. So that's 1, 2, 3, and the fourth goes into the chain. Chain 1, skip a double, going into the next. So our eyelets are going in the right direction. And double crochet our way across. I think other yarns that would be nice for this sort of project, Red Heart Unforgettable, I think it's called. Shawl in a Ball would also be nice because it has a nice slow color gradient. And as you know, I am not sponsored by any of these brands, but I'm an avid user of some of them, and if I feel that some of them would work better for you with this project, hey, I say share that knowledge. All right, so now chain 1, skip that double crochet into the chain. All right, so that is 1, 2, 3, and double crochet the next 2 together for 4. Ta-da! And that's the end of row 22. Row 23. Chain up 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn the work. Skipping the first, going into the second with a double. So that's 1, 2, 3, and the fourth goes into the chain. Chain 1, skip a double, going into the next, and working our way across. Also, there's another yarn that comes to mind, although I have not used it myself, so I can't entirely vouch. However, I believe it is called Scarfy. And I'm not sure about the brand. It's probably Lion Brand or Red Heart, but I'm not entirely sure, but I'm just sort of putting it out there. As per usual, it's what I do. All right, and we've reached the end. Okay, so have to chain 1, skip that double, and double crochet into the chain. So our eyelets are still going in the right direction. So that would be 1 and 2 and 3, and then 2 together for the fourth. So that's part of 1, part of 2, through all 3 loops, shaboom. That's row 23. And we're getting there. We are getting there. Okay. Row 24. Chain up 3. Turn that work. Skip the first, going into the second. So that counts as 1, 2, 3, and the fourth goes into the chain. Chain 1, skip a double, going into the next. And a double into each until we reach the last one. And as I always say, I know I'm being rather thorough, but I'd rather be thorough than to leave questions. I don't like leaving you guys in the dark. All right, so we have that last one. Chain 1, skip that double, double crochet into the chain, like so. So that's 1, 2, 3, and double crochet the next 2 together. Like so. And that was row 24. Row 25. Chain up 3, 1, 2, 3. Skip the first stitch, going into the next with a double. So that's 1, technically 2, 3, and the fourth one goes into the chain, just as we have been doing. Chain 1, skip a double, going into the next. Okay. Until we reach the last one. Okay, almost there. Okay, chain 1, skip a double, double crochet into the chain space. So that's 1, 2, 3, and double crochet the last 2 together. Ta-da! Okay, that's the end of row 25. Row 26. Chain up 3. Turn the work. Skip a stitch, going into the next with a double crochet. So that's 1, 2, 3, and the fourth one goes into the chain. Chain 1, skip a double, going into the next with a double, and work our way to the end until the last one. Gets shorter and shorter with every row. I love it. All right, and then chain 1, double crochet into the chain. We always have to skip that one. So that's 1, 2, 3, and then double crochet the next 2 together. That's the end of row 26. Okay, row 27. Chain up 3. Turn the work. Skip that first stitch, going into the next. So that's 1, 2, 3, and fourth goes into the chain. There we go. Chain 1, skip a double, going into the next, and the next, and the next. We're almost there. Yes, we are. So then, chain 1, double crochet into the chain. So that's 1, 2, 3, and double crochet the last 2 together, like so. Alrighty, that was the end of row 27. Row 28. Chain up 3. Turn the work. Skip the first, going into the second. So that's 1, 2, 3, then fourth goes into the chain. Chain 1, skip a double, going into the next. Chain 1, skip a double, double crochet into the chain. Okay, then so that's 1, 2, 3, and double crochet the last 2 together. Oops, went a little too far. And that's the end of row 28. Row 29. Chain up 3. Turn the work. Skip a stitch going into the next. So that's 1, 2, 3, double crochet into the chain so that we have 4. Chain 1, skip that double going into the next chain with the double. So now we only have one poor little lonely eyelet left. All right, so that's 1, 2, 3, and double crochet the last 2 together. Okay, and that is the end of row 29. Row 30. You guessed it, chain up 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn that work. Okay, skip the first, going into the next. And so that's technically 2, 3. Fourth goes into the chain. Five, 6, and then double crochet the last 2 together for a total of 7. Okay, almost there. Last but not least, row 31. All right, chain up 3. 1, 2, 3. Turn the work one last time. Skip that first one, going to the next. Now we're not going to actually finish our double crochet, so I'm showing what we're going to show you what we're going to do. All right, we're going to double crochet all of these together actually. So just pulling up a loop through each of them like so, as if we're going to do double crochets, just not finishing them. And then be sure to leave off this last one right here. And then pull through all of these 7 loops on your hook. Ta-da! Like so. Then what I like to do is do a little chain 1, and then you can cut your yarn, pull your loop through, and shaboom! You are all done. And if you'll look, the 2 tips look nice and alike. Very, very nice. Like this a lot. I'm very, very pleased with how this pattern came out, and I really hope that you like it too. Now also, this could potentially make a really neat table runner. I didn't even think of it until now. I mean, you might want to make it a little bit wider, but, I mean, granted, of course, also longer, but, you can really do whatever you like with this sort of pattern. And I rather enjoyed showing it to you guys, and I hope you learn, I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, I would really appreciate a little thumbs up button down below, and I would love to hear your comments. And of course, if you want to see more, please hit subscribe, because I do try to post as often as I can. And for any of you that have been following me for any length of time, you know this to be true. Whether it's crocheting, knitting, audiobook narrations, or please do visit my other channel, Fiber Spider Games, with video game playthrough and commentary. It's a lot of fun, and, well, would like to see you there too. So until next time, I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, and above all, stay stitching. I love you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye for now.